G'day there guys, greatest achievement in life is making you smile. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some more bloody good content. Let's go. Posted by user ThrowawayAck5675, titled, Am I the a-hole for being mad at my wife for causing a scene at the restaurant? So my wife has long-lasting issues with her mother. She hasn't spoken to her in 6 years. To be frank, I never understood why my wife doesn't want her mother around. All I know is their relationship went south after my father-in-law divorced my mother-in-law. It was a decision they both made, so I don't get why she keeps punishing her mother like that. I was open to have meetings with my mother-in-law. I have been in contact with her for a year, and my wife knew. She said it's up to me to want to have a relationship with her mum, but I shouldn't try to make her re-establish a relationship with her. Things remained the same for months. My mother-in-law would see my wife a few times a week, but they don't talk, and I just thought that my wife and mother-in-law were stuck in this conflict and needed one meeting to at least open up to tackle this issue, especially before our son is born. I arranged for dinner at a restaurant on Mother's Day. My wife thought it was just 2 of us, but I kept giving her hints about the person that I was expecting. My mother-in-law arrived, and next thing I knew, my wife got up from her seat and started yelling in front of everybody. I told her that her mum tried many times to reconcile, but she was being unfair with her grudge-holding attitude and not giving her a chance for a sincere talk. All I asked for was to sit down and talk things out with her mum. She said she didn't want to see her, especially on this day, and thought that I was doing this for her as a mum. And I was. I begged her to sit and I'd get her mum to leave if she was bothered that much, but she didn't listen. My mother-in-law was standing behind crying while everyone was looking. My wife took her phone and purse and then left. I had mixed feelings, but I felt mostly upset that things played out different than what I had in mind, since my wife had no problem with her mum speaking to me. So now my wife has been staying with a friend for a week. I visited her twice to talk, and every time we ended up arguing. I told her she didn't need to cause a scene at the restaurant, and could have been a little bit graceful to sit with her mum at the table to talk, but she said that I needed to blame myself. I asked her, didn't Mother's Day mean anything to her? And all I got was a cold stare. Growing up without my mother made my life incomplete. I never had any mother figures in my life, and it's because of my father. I just think everyone should count their blessings, and she should realize that it's never too late to fix the problem between her and her mum if she chooses to see how lucky she was to still have her mum alive. But she kept blaming me for the scene at the restaurant and said she won't forget that day, and flat out told me, you know what's the worst thing about betrayal? It never comes from an enemy. This complicated the matter more. I thought about what went wrong, and it's clear my wife isn't willing to even try. Edit, I'm 23 male. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I might be the a-hole for not being understanding and respectful of my wife's boundaries now that I just saw how serious she was being in regards to boundaries with her mother. I personally don't think there's much else to say then besides that. I think you're spot on the money. I do think you didn't understand and were not respectful of your wife's boundaries. She's your wife, and it's not like you haven't talked about this before. If she doesn't want to see her mother, don't force her into a situation where she has to see her. Just because you grew up without a mother in your life doesn't mean that you force this mother-daughter interaction between the two. Yeah, you may believe that everyone should count their blessings and realize that it's never too late to fix the problem between them, but it doesn't have to happen in this situation, and it doesn't have to happen now. And if your wife isn't okay with that interaction, and you know that, then you absolutely suck for forcing that. She's your wife, and her best interests need to come first. There's nothing you can say or do that will change that fact. She has to be put first, her mum comes second. Don't do things like this. This could well lead to a divorce. You never know. You're the a-hole. Now in the comments, Blue on the Ledge says, you're the a-hole. Respect her boundaries. Surprising her with a boundary violation on Mother's Day is gross. Your own issues with your own mother have nothing to do with your wife's relationship with hers. And the quote about arranging a dinner at the restaurant on Mother's Day, and that's why you're an a-hole, OP. You should have told your wife you invited her mother. You didn't because you knew your wife wouldn't have come. You have disrespected your wife completely. You overstepped so far, I don't know if your relationship will recover. The worst part in all of this is you still don't understand that what you did was wrong and why it was wrong. You caused the scene by arranging this meal. You broke your wife's trust. You cannot control your wife's relationship with her mother. You're the a-hole. What makes this even worse to me is that by the sounds of it, she's currently pregnant. What the hell, OP? I wish more men realized that this is actively harming both mum and the fetus. Those stress hormones can cause permanent changes to fetal development. The kid isn't even born yet, and he's hurting it. Father of the fudging year. Starshine Soul says, you're the a-hole. Not all mothers are kind and good. Some are incredibly toxic people who can be cruel, vindictive, and relenting. Your wife does not owe it to you or her mother to have a relationship. Back off. Also, don't be surprised if divorce papers follow this event. I know I'd leave anyone who pulled this in regards to the parent I'm in no contact with. And this, I hope she hires an unrelenting attorney. The wife deserves someone who will advocate for her best interests. You are so beyond being the a-hole that there isn't even a word to describe it. You'll be lucky if this hasn't ended your marriage. If my husband pulled this on me with my father, I would immediately leave him. No questions asked. And we've been married more than 30 years. You need to deal with your own unresolved mommy issues. You are so much the a-hole. Honestly, you'll be lucky if this doesn't make your wife hate you. I just related this to my hubby, and he remarked that if that had happened to me, there would have been blood. Some people have no concept of the way parents can victimize their children and then make themselves look like the victim. Don't I know it? I know my father cries to anyone who will listen about his ungrateful, horrible children who are just so mean. He's upset that we finally decided that we had the right to protect ourselves from him. Dude, if neither of your kids will speak to you and are still petrified of you even as more than middle-aged adults, then the kids aren't the problem. So I'd love to know what you guys think of this one. Is this a you're the a-hole verdict down in the comments? Please do let me know. Now our next post is by user ThrowRA17017, titled, Am I the a-hole for sending the police to my stepsister's wedding? So I, female 32, lost my mum when I was 23. It was by far the most traumatic loss that I had experienced. I just couldn't and didn't want to accept her death. It was unfair, untimely, and preventable. I got into therapy and was doing better, but I had issues with my dad's new wife and her daughter who's 25 and just got married weeks ago. We do not have a close relationship, but we were cordial enough to sit at dinner tables. My stepsister treats me as a relative and was as much distant from me. But after my father got sick, we had to see each other a lot. I'm handling his care while stepmom works full-time, and stepsister doesn't do much, though she's always visiting when I moved in to help my dad. Before that, I was living with my ex, so returning home was just in time. I brought with me all of my mum's belongings, and my stepsister showed interest in my mum's necklace and asked if she could borrow it to wear it at her wedding. I refused and put it in a place where I thought that it would be safe after my stepmother got involved. As the wedding approached, they both kept convincing me to let my stepsister have it. She bragged about affording a better one, but it was a matter of showing who's in control. I stood my ground and told them how serious I was, so they backed off. I didn't attend the wedding to stay with my dad. I remember wanting to change where I was hiding the necklace while the house was empty, but I found it was gone. After searching for hours, I called my stepmom and she said not to worry. My stepsister took it and will return it when the wedding is over. But it was clear that I won't see it till after the honeymoon, since she said her daughter was staying at a hotel. I screamed at her to return it, but she argued about not wanting to leave the guests, and the wedding already started. I told her I'd get it myself, but she forbid me from coming, saying she'd have to keep me out for wanting to make a scene. I called the police and explained to them what was happening. I informed them my stepsister intended to leave for her honeymoon with my property. The police were sent to where the wedding was being held, and they were able to retrieve the necklace from my stepsister. She and my stepmom were in shock and livid. She, my stepmom, returned home and kept shouting at me, calling me petty and crazy to send the police to my stepsister's wedding, ruining it and humiliating them over a piece of jewelry. She was screaming at my sick dad, telling him to handle me after the stunt that I pulled at the wedding. I defended myself, saying I only wanted an item that belonged to me, that they took without permission, returned. She argued further that I could have waited to get it back, but I chose to burn the bridge with my stepsister and said that she considers me dead after this. She said stuff I can't mention here, but all I can say is it was a bad night. I might have overreacted by getting the police involved, but I had no guarantee of getting the necklace back since I have experience with them in the past. Am I the a-hole? I guess I have questions about this story, as in why did the police actually go to the wedding to deal with a stolen necklace? In my experience, police are always just this is a family thing, this isn't an actual crime, you guys deal with it. This is a waste of police time and resources. And then I guess going further from that, the escalation to the police actually coming to the wedding and seizing that necklace back, some people may see that as an unnecessary escalation of force. They might think, hey, everyone sucks here. That was a dick move, you kind of ruined her wedding. But for me, taking a step back and kind of removing the guilt that I'd feel about that action, I'd say you'd have to be not the a-hole in this situation. She shouldn't have stolen your necklace in the first place. She knew not to touch it. You hid it specifically so she couldn't get it, and she went looking for it, found it, took it. And obviously with your history with this woman, she doesn't actually have any intention of giving it back. Maybe on that honeymoon, she's just going to magically lose the necklace and you'll never hear of it again because you can't prove that she didn't lose it. So for this one, I'm going to have to go not the a-hole because purely you're looking out for your best interests, and I don't blame you for that. I would too. Now in the comments, a C person by night says, not the a-hole. Don't want the police at your wedding? Don't steal your stepsister's necklace and then brag about it. Seems easy enough to me. OP, your stepfamily is a pit of a-holes. May I suggest a safety deposit box at a bank for your precious items? Jumping in to add, since your father is ill, please be aware that if he dies intestate, without a will, then your stepmom will inherit everything, and then it will pass to your stepsister. You will be left with nothing. Please speak to your father to make sure that he's aware of his end-of-life choices. Whatever he does with his estate is his choice, and I don't advocate trying to pressure him. But he may think your stepmom will share with you and stepsis when the time comes, and I don't think that this is a realistic expectation. Not the a-hole. They took your late mother's property and then tried to flip it on you like you burned the bridge. F out of here with that mess. You are not the a-hole in any way, shape, or form. Good riddance, and hopefully they never bother you again. Put all your mother's things in a safe, safety deposit box, or storage unit. And OP replies, I admit that I'm the type that makes hasty decisions when angry. I was angry in that moment, and I had a terrible feeling and let my anger control the situation. I won't lie, I do regret getting the police involved, but all they did was just retrieve the item. And AmITheA replies to that, don't feel bad at all. The situation warranted the reaction and consequences exist for a reason. If it was me, I would have told my father, and he would have zoomed over there and flipped a table before tackling her in front of her spouse's family. They thought they could walk all over you, and that's why they took it the way they did. Who's to say that they would have ever given it back in the first place? Your stepmother could have forgotten to ask for it back, and you would have been without the necklace that was your mother's. They caused that situation to happen in the first place. They are a bunch of entitled a-holes for the way they went about it. You said no, and they should have respected that. Or, she could have lost it, or it could have been stolen on the honeymoon. And there is zero chance OP would have gotten that necklace back. Calling the police was the only choice. And AnonIsBest 78 says, she says you were dead to her after this? Well, honestly, she should be dead to you. She was in the wrong, they both were wrong. You don't want the respect of people like that because their respect would make you wonder if you're turning out like them. And OP replies, yeah, I don't have her on social media, but my number was blocked by her. My stepmom kept saying that she was going to make sure the item is returned, but telling me no when I wanted to come back and take it myself made me lose my patience. Our next post is by user Brave Field, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not telling him dinner is ready?" So my husband has an obsession with TikTok. He's 40, by the way, he's not 14. He takes his phone to the bathroom and will spend ages just mindlessly scrolling. We have 2 young kids, and I think he just does it for some peace. But it means I'm constantly having to go and knock on the door, like, "Are you okay? Are you gonna be long? Will you come and help me with the tiny humans?" It's a pain in the ass. I was making a full roast dinner and saw him heading off upstairs. I said it'll be ready in 20 minutes, don't be long. I set the table, I finished cooking, I plated up and got the kids to the table, and just thought, I'm not gonna seek him. This is ridiculous. I 100% wanted to see how long it would take him to come out on his own. 2 hours and 10 minutes. In that time, we had finished the meal, I had cleaned the kitchen and the floor, done the dishes and done a load of laundry, and the kids were halfway through a film. He came down and yelled at me that I should have told him the meal was ready. I told him I'm not his mother and it's not my job to go and seek him. He stormed out, then said that he's not eating his meal now, as roast dinners are rubbish heated in the microwave, and this is all my fault, and I am the a-hole. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I 100% wanted to see how long it would take him to realize and come down on his own. I knew he would miss dinner. I also know he hates roast dinners that have been reheated in the microwave. And it was very passive-aggressive of me. I don't see how you're married to this guy and you think that being passive-aggressive in a situation like this might warrant you being the a-hole. Though I get the entire premise of, like, you shouldn't feel guilty about things, and people get misplaced guilt about situations, especially when it comes to arguments like this in relationships. It really feels like he misplaced guilt onto you and made you feel bad for this situation, when logically, and talking to a third party outside of this, everyone knows he's an asshole and he deserves to not have eaten dinner. But I completely understand that. I get myself in situations where I think I should rightfully be angry about something, and then I feel like, hey, why are they reacting like this? Did I really do something wrong? Did I mess up? Did I approach this the wrong way? But no, let me reassure you in this situation, as a third party, I don't think that you're the a-hole in this situation. Device addiction is rampant these days, especially TikTok. That's why I limit my interactions with it, because I could easily, go 2 hours with it. I'm definitely capable of that, and I don't want to do that. It's obviously taking over his life. Thank God it's not something like a gambling addiction, but hopefully this is one way to snap him out of that lunacy. And if this isn't a wake-up call for him, then you're gonna need to do something more dramatic, and I don't want to think about what that would be. I'm gonna have to give you a not the a-hole judgment in this one. Now in the comments, Pushkin Mage says, "Not the a-hole. Are you sure he's not 14? Storming out because you didn't tell him the dinner you made was ready after you told him that it would be 20 minutes is something a 14-year-old would do. A 40-year-old should apologize for taking so long and thank you for making dinner, feeding his kids, and cleaning up. You two need to have a long talk about this." To be fair, a reasonable 40-year-old wouldn't likely spend 2.5 hours ensconced in a toilet, dicking with their phone while their family went about their day either. I don't get enough time with my family, no matter how much time I get with my family, and I get a lot of time with my family. I like the occasional break for an hour-long nap, or I may send the wife off to the store with the boys to get a bit of me time, but I'm not really happy unless I'm generally immersed in my family's activities. I also don't mind sending the wife off to a nap or taking the boys out for a break for her. It's about sanity and balance. But deliberately separating myself for hours so that I can play on the internet? That's just repulsive to me. The kids need a model for healthy behavior. Jamming your nose into your phone for hours on end isn't a good example to set for them. Neither is locking yourself away and missing a family meal to do it, or yelling at your spouse for your lack of self-control. Depression, most likely. Avoidance of dealing with the stresses and anxieties of life, the things that are making him miserable and that he won't deal with. Not saying that's his family, by the way, but any time spent in the real world could lead him there. Definitely one for counseling to work through, in my opinion. It's just as likely to be poor self-discipline, you know? Every crappy thing people do isn't mental illness. Except mistaking mental illness for poor self-discipline does much more harm to the person than the other way around. But mistaking poor self-discipline for mental illness doesn't do any good for the people around that person. Either way, Reddit doesn't have enough to go off of, so it's good for OP to be mindful of both possibilities. But poor self-discipline is rooted in the mind. Either you can overcome it unassisted, aka grow out of that phase, or you may be too deep to do so unaided. Since we only have OP's side to work from, suggesting the advice of a professional rather than a bunch of randos on the internet isn't the worst suggestion. If they don't need the help of a professional to overcome their personal hang-ups, the professional should be able to recognize this and set them on a good path. If they do need the help of a professional, trying to muck through on their own while constantly being held accountable for their own shortcomings can further the damage and make overcoming the obstacle in question more or less insurmountable. Some people need a good kick in the pants, yes, but others are too overwhelmed by kicks from themselves or others to stand on their own. It's real hard to stand on your own when you're using both feet to kick yourself. And OP comments themselves and says, "Thank you all. This has been going on for the last 6 to 7 weeks, and before then, he was fully engaged as a spouse and as a father. Now he's acting like a sullen teenager. We will talk tonight when he comes back from wherever he's stormed off to try and get to the bottom of what's going on. The people who said that I have 3 kids right now are 100% correct. I've got to say, kind of sounds like cheating. Texting or FaceTiming someone else in the bathroom, suddenly unengaged and angry with you for no reason? It's not always TikTok they're hiding." I hated to say it because that is often a knee-jerk response to these stories, but I agree with you. These are some of the top signs of an affair. Plus, OP, there's no way he's sitting on the throne for that long. The circulation would be cut off in his legs in less than half an hour. 2.5 hours is insane. So he's sitting somewhere else while in there. Perhaps the floor, or the edge of the tub, or a chair if there's one in there. At best, that's avoidance. At worst, he's doing something nefarious. And Electric Moccasin says, "Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend's behavior screams social media addiction, specifically TikTok. If he's not listening to you, ducking out on parental responsibilities and losing track on 2 hours of time, then it may be worth really sitting them down and discussing this." Agreed. It's time for a serious talk about how detrimental and unhealthy this is becoming, and that he needs to seek help. Yeah, 10, even 20 minutes would be one thing, as I've had time fly by myself while looking at TikTok to be honest, but 2 hours is extreme, especially since you can still see the time when you're in the app. At least on iOS you can, not sure about Android. And our next post is by user csuccess3339, titled, "Am I the a-hole for letting my husband have a say in the baby items we buy?" So my husband and I are expecting our first child in 2 months, and throughout our relationship, I've been very set on letting him have equal say on all things that matter. E.g., for the wedding he was expected to have just as much say as everyone else, and I didn't entertain any talk of, "But the groom doesn't make these kind of decisions." It just seems silly to me that one party can't have a say because it goes against the norm. Where I'm from, weddings are usually left to the bride for the most part. So I've maintained this expectation throughout our relationship. And now that we're having our first child, I have left my husband to pick and choose how he likes. We're expecting a girl, and he's had trouble finding the girl clothing options appealing, and as such, half the clothing items that we end up buying are typically considered boys' clothes, such as dinosaur prints. His argument is that dinosaurs are cool no matter if you're a boy or a girl. Neutral clothing is often more expensive, or a much smaller section in the baby options. Please note that it's not that he wanted a boy. He's over the moon to be having a girl, but he just feels a lot of the clothes are overly mature for babies, finding it hard to get behind these suggestive themes and style, just not meant for a child that young, if for anyone. So while we feel that clothes are clothes, friends and family often complain. Mother-in-law complains that she can't buy anything because she doesn't know what theme we're going for. There isn't one. She says we're making it intentionally difficult. Others pull faces but try to be polite about it. Braver people tell us that girls don't wear dinosaurs, among the other boy options that we have. Imagine the horror of a baby dressed in a lion-decorated onesie. So recently, we've had some friends go out and buy the most aggressively feminine clothing items they can find. Frills, shockingly pink, and silly words to boot. Think of those shirts that say, "Sorry boys, no dating allowed." Just why? Some look downright uncomfortable even for an adult, and now I'm expected to dress my baby in it, such as baby shoes with heels? They can't even walk yet. The friend smiled sweetly and mentioned that I've been too soft-hearted on my husband and shouldn't let him have so much free reign with the baby's clothes. I asked my husband about it later, and he said that he can see the point of the others as it's what they're used to. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I'm well aware that we're going against the norm in the social setting we're in. While we're not doing anything crazy, for some people it's unacceptable to go against the social norm in any way. So your question at the start was, am I the asshole for letting my husband have a say in the baby items we buy? I'm not from your culture, I'm not going to pretend that I understand your culture, but in general, no. Isn't it usually the other way around? We usually have, am I the asshole for letting my wife have a say? Because my culture doesn't believe in women having a say in anything? Thank God this isn't that kind of oppressive society that we're dealing with. So yeah, absolutely not. I don't think you're an a-hole. Your friends are being overly dramatic and showing that they don't care about what you guys think of as parents. Or I guess, to rephrase that, the way you want to raise your child. They're not respecting the way that you want to raise your child. These are baby's clothes. Who cares what baby's clothes look like? If your husband is concerned with the baby's clothes that are available to buy and you agree with him, it should end there. Your friends shouldn't be involving themselves in this matter. There is no abuse going on here. There are no relationship problems going on here. You are agreeing with your husband, and you've always agreed with your husband. Your friends are seemingly manipulating you and forcing stupid societal or cultural norms onto you that you obviously don't agree with, and you continue to back that up through the writing of this post. I say, continue to ignore them, give those clothes back, tell them to go away, tell them to respect your decisions as a couple, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, your humble overlord says, not the a-hole. Husband is right. Dinosaurs are cool no matter your gender. Seconding. Dinosaurs are cool. Lions are cool. Heck, the kid may end up wanting to be an engineer and want big trucks on everything, or airplanes or spaceships. OP, not the a-hole. I'm also of the opinion frilly stuff is ridiculous and uncomfortable for little kids. Sturdy clothes that can be washed repeatedly in hot water are far from practical. Also, I'm pretty sure there were some girl dinosaurs once upon a time. And women took over the earth according to Jurassic Park. If I ever saw a Jurassic Park baby onesie with that quote on it, any friend having a girl baby would be getting that as a gift. Print the words in pink or purple if it needs to be made girly. Or even better, glitter. Damn it, now I want a shirt like that. Not the a-hole. I hate buying baby girl clothes. Dinosaurs are awesome no matter what gender you are. Frills and things are impossible to keep clean on top of everything else. It's awesome that y'all are actually co-parenting. I had a cousin that was only allowed to wear uber frilly dresses when she was a baby at age 6. She had so many problems learning to crawl and walk because of it, I felt horrible for her. And OP replies, oh wow, I didn't even think about this, but now that I am, I can imagine how they could get in the way. Seriously, just think of how often adults trip on long skirts, onesies and leggings, and if you have a carpeted floor, the leggings help prevent rug burn, are the best. And Bob the driver says, not the a-hole. What the hell is this crazy talk? It's a baby. They don't have any clothing preference apart from maybe not liking scratchy things. Literally all the clothing choices are adult preferences for 1, your own style preferences, and 2, easy to wash and put on the child. If your husband thinks that dinosaurs are cute, he should buy them. Trust me, you're both going to be exhausted caring for a constantly crying and pooping thing with teeny tiny wiggling arms that you struggle to fit into sleeves. Getting to enjoy the look of a few cute outfits is one of the perks that you'll get at this stage, so you definitely should get as much out of it as you can. And OP replies, I'm just hoping to put matching socks on the poor kid. I don't function well when tired, lol. Try to buy multiple packs of identical socks. It's hard to screw up when they all match. Not to mention keeping socks on a child can be very difficult. Cut yourself some slack. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.